Kia ora and welcome to the Niggly Nishcast. I'm the Diggly Doodad Doc, the Papatoy Panther, Mr. Slippers, serving up the deucer straight at your front dog, forcing you to play or else you're going to be plumb LBW, coming at you with a little bit of Plunket Shield on the Nishcast. That's right, Plunket Shield has started, summer is almost here, and we're gearing up for another monumental summer of cricket. We love our domestic cricket here at the Nishcast. So what some sort of plan is going to be is that I am going to do these little shorter episodes by myself. The Wildcards are off on a little business trip to his computer to do some work, and I am going to just run through team selections. That's what I'm going to do during day one's play. So I'm just going to tell you who's playing, any new faces, any names that are unfamiliar to me, and we'll just go through the teams that are playing in that specific round. So don't expect to hear any scores or updates on what's happening in these little shorter episodes that are coming to you day one, day two, and then after each round of Plunket Shield cricket, me and the Wobbly Wildcard will team up to do a full episode of the Nishcast about what happened in that round of Plunket Shield cricket. So hopefully you can get a bit of value from these and just stay up to date with who is playing, who's not doing what, and any new faces on the domestic cricket circuit, which there's already been a couple. Round one, a few unfamiliar names sneaking into the Plunket Shield landscape. So that's what I love to see, love to hear. And yeah, so that's it. We're just keep an eye out for these on your feed. And other than that, do make sure you read the Domestic Daily as well. So I'll be writing about Plunket Shield cricket. We're going to do lots of podcasts about Plunket Shield Ford Trophy cricket. And we're just going to be all over domestic cricket, as we tend to be. We will start with Wellington Firebirds versus Otago Volts. This is down in Wellington at the Basin Reserve. Grass on the wicket. Time to play cricket in Wellington. The Otago Volts. Their batting lineup reads Hamish Rutherford, Cam Hawkins, Dale Phillips, Neil Broom, Nick Kelly, Dean Foxcroft, Mitch Renwick, Nathan Smith, Jacob Duffy, Travis Muller, and Michael Ray. So first thing I notice here is that all of the recruits that joined Otago this summer, during the winter for the summer, are playing. Dale Phillips from Auckland, younger brother of Glenn Phillips, he's batting number 3. Nick Kelly and Dean Foxcroft are in the middle order. Nick Kelly moved from Northern Districts down to Otago Volts, and Dean Foxcroft moved from Central Districts down to Otago Volts. All those dudes are playing, so it's a good solid, like they're just starting the season. They're probably going to stay in those places unless they get injured. I like that faith and trust shown in those new recruits who have all left their first kind of club team for further opportunities. Dale Phillips wasn't going to get much of a look in that Auckland setup. Nick Kelly, bit in and out of the Northern Districts group depending on the format. Dean Foxcroft, he's at that stacked Central Districts outfit, so even though Dean Foxcroft was one of the breakout players from last summer, he wasn't going to get much game time in a stacked Central Districts lineup until certain players went away. Same with Nick Kelly, and they have now gone straight into the Otago Volts first 11, so good for them. There is this name, Mr. T. Muller, Travis Muller, who, to the best of my knowledge, I've got the Otago contracts here. So there, I think it's 16 players who get a contract. I don't know. And Travis Muller did not get a contract, and he is here playing for the Otago Volts he's a seam bowler, and his Crick Info page tells me that he played a Plunket Shield game for Wellington back in late 2017, so the 2017-18 season, and he is another bloke who's come across from South Africa. He must have come across 2017, 16, around that range, obviously. And he played one game for Wellington, hasn't really done anything since, and here he is popping up for Otago Volts. He started that year in South Africa, so his Cricket Info says that he was playing first-class cricket, T20 cricket, first-class cricket in South Africa up until August 2017. Then November 2017, he was playing a Plunket Shield game for Wellington against Central District. So that's an interesting little move. Travis Muller, he's a right-arm medium pacer. He played 43 first-class games total, so 42 first-class games, I assume, in South Africa, and he's got a reasonably healthy bowling average for first-class cricket of 24.32, RPO of 3.33, which is bloody impressive figures. And yeah, he's just appeared for Otago Volts. What I find interesting here is that he was selected ahead of Matt Bacon. Obviously, Michael Ray was also selected ahead of Matt Bacon. I'd say Muller and Ray and Bacon are probably been in a bit of a competition for bowling spots down there at Otago, considering that Jacob Duffy's the captain. He's always going to be selected, and Nathan Smith is a very handy all-rounder, so he is probably going to be selected more often than not as well. So Muller, Ray, Bacon competing for those seam spots, and Matt Bacon was one of the best. I think he might have finished second or third in wickets last season, and here he is starting the 12th man. So interesting selection decisions there for the Otago Volts. And I will say, Travis Muller, another Kiwi African now. Every Plunket Shield team this round has a player who moved across to Aotearoa from South Africa, which is interesting. I just find it interesting, not positive, not negative. Well, it's definitely probably more positive just to raise the overall level of cricket on the domestic scene. But I'll quickly just roll across the whole round of Plunket Shield and point out these Kiwi Africans. Otago Volts have Dale Phillips, younger brother of Glenn Phillips, so that's one. They have Dean Foxcroft as well, that's two. And Travis Muller, that's three. Wellington have Devon Conway, so we got 4 total. They also have Malcolm Knopfel, so that's 5 total. So 5 in that game, 5 total. Moving on to Auckland Aces, they got Glenn Phillips, 6. They also have no one else, so that's all good. Central Districts have Willem Luddick, 7. And I believe Brad Shamulian was also born in South Africa, so I'm going to chuck him in there as well, 8. And then Canterbury have Chad Bowes, so that's 9. And they are playing against Northern Districts Knights, who have Neil Wagner. So that's 10. So to the best of my knowledge, again, don't quote me, might be wrong, who cares? Find someone better informed. I think we have 10 Kiwi Africans around the Plunket Shield at this point, which is almost a first 11. Shout out to them. Wellington Firebirds. Their playing team reads Rachin Ravindra opening the batting, Fraser Colson, Devon Conway, Michael Bracewell, the captain, Tom Blundell, Jimmy Neesham, Malcolm Knopfel, Logan Van Beek, Ollie Newton, Ben Sears, Hamish Rutherford, and Ian McPeak is 12th man. So Ben Sears getting selected ahead of Ian McPeak, which is a good vote of confidence for Ben Sears. He's a hostile seamer, quite aggressive, does bowl a pretty sharp delivery. And he has been selected again ahead of Ian McPeak, which is, it seems like a pretty decent move considering Sears has a bit of X factor. And he appeared in the Super Smash and looked pretty like an interesting prospect. So he could be someone to keep an eye on as we move through Plunket Shield cricket. Plenty of seamers in that Wellington team. Logan Van Beek, fresh out of county cricket. Ollie Newton, Ben Sears, Hamish Bennett, so that's 4 seamers. You got a bit of spin from Malcolm Knopfel, and then Jimmy Neesham's going to bowl a bit as well. Rachin Ravindra opening the batting, good opportunity for him straight away, straight up the guts, opening the batting. I like that, and that's the Wellington Firebirds team. Auckland Aces have Jeet Raval, Martin Guptill, Glenn Phillips, Mark Chapman, Sean Solier, Robbie O'Donnell. Ben Horn, Kyle Jamieson, Will Somerville, Matt McKeown, and Jamie Brown. So Kyle Jamieson getting his first appearance coming back to Auckland after making his first class debut with Canterbury. Went down to Canterbury. He's originally from Auckland, then moved down to Canterbury to study and play a bit of cricket, which is a good move for him. Really impressive with Canterbury. Basically over the last 3 years, injury affected, but when he did play was very good. So he's getting an opportunity in that Auckland Aces bowling attack. And Robbie O'Donnell, the captain. So there's no Craig Chopra in that mix, and no Michael Guptill-Bunce, who I think they split the captaincy a bit last season. So Robbie O'Donnell, he's one of the younger cricketers in that Auckland Aces team, and he is leading them. Obviously, you've got Black Caps, Jeet Raval, Martin Guptill opening the batting, and Will Somerville offering his standard dose of spin. Ben Lister is the 12th man, so understandably, it's only really competition between Ben Lister and Jamie Brown for the bowling attack spaces. Will Somerville's always going to be selected as the number one spinner. Matt McKeown is a highly valuable cricketer for the Auckland Aces, bats a bit, and I think was their leading wicket taker last summer, so he should always be selected in a round one game based on last season. And then Kyle Jamieson's their new recruit. So Jamie Brown and Ben Lister are kind of competing for those edge, fringy kind of seam bowling spaces. But that's a Brown, Lister, Kyle Jamieson. That's a nice young bowling attack. And then you got your young batsmen: Glenn Phillips, Mark Chapman, Sean Solier, Robbie O'Donnell. That's your number 3 down to your number 6. All good batting prospects that we should be keeping tabs on throughout the season. And interesting who would come in to open when Martin Guptill's unavailable or when Jeet Raval's unavailable. See how that depth for Auckland Aces looks. They are playing against the Central District Stags, and this game is, where's this one being played? At the Outer Oval of Eden Park. Shout out to them. George Worker, Greg Hay, Ben Smith, Ross Taylor, Brad Shmulian, Dane Cleaver, Willem Luddick, Ben Wheeler, Ajaz Patel, Seth Rance, Blair Tickner, and 12th man is Joey Field, another unfamiliar name. So the names that are surprising me this round are Travis Muller, the South African Otago seamer, and Joey Field, who his Cricinfo profile says that he played for the New Zealand under-19 team, and he played... I don't think he actually went to the World Cup, though. I think he just played in series... Oh, no, that was all this year. So he's in the New Zealand under-19 this year, which is pretty cool. Good for him. He's played 6 games for New Zealand under-19, 3 against Australia in Australia, and then against the touring Bangladesh under-19 team, and 6 games and 2 wickets. So not the greatest under-19 record for Joey Field, but he's worked his way into the Central Stags group, not quite in the team. He's 12th man, and he's probably not going to be selected ahead of Ben Wheeler, Seth Rance, Blair Tickner. No Adam Milne for the Central Stags, and no Bevan Small is another one who's not there as well. So they might be injured, and that's why they've gone to Joey Field to come in and cover it as 12th man. Good to see Willem Luddick, another South African Kiwi, getting a good opportunity in the middle order, bowl a bit as well for the Stags. And Ross Taylor is playing in this game, batting in his usual spot of number 4. Everything else is fairly settled for the Stags. I imagine Will Young's not playing, so Will Young would assume he'd come in for Ross Taylor, or I can see Will Young coming in for Brad Shmulian, and then Shmulian offering a bit of batting depth himself. Good to see Ross Taylor playing, Martin Guptill playing, Jeet Raval, plenty of... and the spin battle there, you've got Ajaz Patel versus Will Somerville, basically the 2 leading spinners for the Aotearoa Test team. And finally, we got Canterbury versus Northern Districts. Canterbury have Tom Latham opening the batting with Chad Bowes, Stephen Murdoch, number 3, Henry Mickles, Cole McConchie, Todd Astle, Cameron Fletcher, Matt Henry, Andrew Hazeldine, Will Williams, and Ed Nuttall. Cole McConchie is captaining that team again, and reasonably solid. Canterbury have the services of Henry Nicholls and Tom Latham. I imagine when those two are unavailable, you're going to see guys, like Jack Boyle and Leo Carter and Ken McClure. 3 young batsmen for Canterbury who probably drop out when Tom Latham and Henry Nicholls are available, as well as Todd Astle. Todd Astle is down to bat number 6, which is fairly high, but we know Todd Astle can definitely handle a bat in Plunket Shield cricket. Bowling attack, you got Matt Henry leading the attack. Todd Astle's going to be a spinner. Cole McConchie can bowl a bit of spin himself. And then you got Hazeldine, Williams, and Ed Nuttall, their seamers. Ed Nuttall should probably be selected more often than not, barring injury or disaster. And then you've got Hazeldine and Williams. They're kind of competing with Henry Shipley. Is probably another one coming into the mix there. And Theo van Workom is their 12th man. He's a spinner, so no need for him when you got Todd Astle, but he will come in, and it does seem that he is ranked ahead of Blake Coburn, the lefty leggy, considering that Van Workom is the 12th man. Maybe he's just a better fielder, who knows. Northern Districts Knights. Interestingly here, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 names down on their little list here. Scott Kugelheim is listed as 12th man, and then they've also got James Baker. He is also down, but he is not playing. So the playing 11 for the Northern Districts Knights is Daniel Flynn captaining, opening the batting. Tim Seifert down to open. Kane Williamson, Dean Brownlee, BJ Watling, Daryl Mitchell, Mitchell Santner, Ish Sodhi, Neil Wagner, Tim Southey, and Trent Bolt. So good to see Tim Seifert opening the batting for the Northern Districts Knights. Not last season, the season before. I think he was in the top 3 for Plunket Shield runs. So everyone thinks that Tim Seifert is this blaster. He whacks it everywhere. Very good Plunket Shield batsman as well. And opening the innings, his strike rate, straight off the top of my head, I think his strike rate matched the format. So he's not going to come out in Plunket Shield and whack it everywhere. He's just going to play accordingly to the conditions, to the format. Also, you got the double spinners here, Ish Sodhi and Mitchell Santner. Black Caps, Seam Attack, Neil Wagner, Tim Southey, Trent Bolt. And yeah, Daryl Mitchell coming into the middle order there. So players who will come into this team when all these Black Caps go. Also, no Colin de Grandhomme, which is notable. He would probably be playing... I mean, you might select him ahead of Daryl Mitchell. I don't know. You might select him ahead of Dean Brownlee or Daniel Flynn. Who knows? You got Scott Kugelheim as 12th man, so I don't know where you're going to fit Colin de Grandhomme in, and they probably just told him to chill out, have a rest, because we got too many Black Caps. Players who will come into the Knights team, you got Barrett Popley, Henry Cooper, Joe Carter. They add a bit of batting. Then you've got they've got a whole second string seam attack because Santner, Sodhi, Wagner, Southey, Bolt. They're all Black Caps, so you need a whole different bowling attack. Kugelheim can come into that, but you've got guys like Brett Randall, Brett Hampton as well. Zach Gibson is another one coming through there for the Knights, so watch out for them. Guys like Joe Walker might come in as a spinner if Santner and Sodhi are unavailable, so we will see changes moving forward. And just to we'll finish with that. This is a round where a lot of Black Caps are playing, so you're going to see a lot of changes moving forward, and that's when things will start to get interesting because you're going to have different players coming in, and that's the thing I like about Plunket Shield cricket is when those other players get an opportunity with the Black Caps away. Right now it's kind of like when you've got a full classroom. Everyone's there. It's cool. It's good to have everyone there. You love it. It's happy days. But when the Plunket Shield is the best for me is when the Black Caps are away and it's like a Friday, half the class is away for a school trip, and it's just a much more fun day because you've got just the cool people around, the people who didn't go on whatever. People who are there 24/7, holding it down. That's what I like to see. So round 2, we might see a few changes considering that T20 series against England starts fairly soon, and that's when we will get into the meat and drink of this Plunket Shield Day 1, Day 2 team selection wrap-up. We will be back later in the week with a full breakdown of what happened in Plunket Shield round 1. We will be back podcast-wise to talk about the Wellington Phoenix football Flying Kiwis matters, New Zealand Breakers, also NBA basketball starting up soon, so we'll have some Stephen Adams talk, Sean Marks, Brooklyn Nets big dog, and we have International Rugby League this weekend as well, so we might touch on that. Otherwise, read about it, find it somewhere. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you're enjoying the Plunket Shield cricket. If you do like our Plunket Shield domestic cricket coverage, support us on Patreon, because that's basically how we make it possible, is having folks who enjoy domestic cricket as much as us, supporting us, keeping us going, providing the information for yous, because New Zealand cricket don't provide that information, and no one else in the media landscape does as well. That's what we're here for. So keep it real, kia kaha, stay beautiful, and we'll be back in the coming days for another podcast. Cheer, cheer.